Hi stamping friends, it's Terri Gaines. In this video I'm going to give you the assembly tips for my July 2022 Fun Fold card. You receive the packet for a qualifying order. In the packet is the postcard with the written instructions, all the materials to assemble a miniature card that goes on top of the postcard, so you have a visual of the Fun Fold, along with all the supplies for a full-size card. I've emailed you a PDF with all the supplies used, all the measurements, along with the instructions. And during the video, I will share how I prep some of these packets. My goal also is to give you all the details so you can duplicate this using different colors, different products, and to have successful projects. So the supplies you're going to need for adhesive, a double stick tape. I'm going to use the Stampin' Seal. You need mini glue dots, dimensionals, and a strong adhesive. I would suggest tear and tape. It works great. For tools, we want a bone folder. The Take Your Pick tool will come in handy, a paper snips, and also the silicone craft pad will work well. As I mentioned, I'm going to assist in assembling these, and let's start with the main card. We have pieces for embellishment. I'm going to just set those aside, and we're going to do the construction part of the card first. You can pause the video at any time to get caught up to me if I'm going too fast, and that's the beauty of the video. In the packet you have the card base, a brace piece, and then you have 5 pieces of cardstock that are cut the same size. 4 of them have a fern 3D texture on them from this beautiful 3D embossing folder. And those are the 4, and then 1 that does not have any texture. We're going to be working with these pieces to assemble the card. So the card base is already excuse me, cut and scored for you. So on the first score line, we're going to fold to a mountain fold, then a valley fold, then a mountain fold. So we're going to create a shape like this. And the inside, all 4 panels are equal. On the inside, we're going to take 2 of these texturized basic white cardstock and adhere to those inside panels. There should be approximately an eighth of an inch, equal spacing on all 4 sides, and there is no top or bottom identified to the fern folder. So you want to just assemble these, and you can look at the dimension that you have on that textured paper and decide if you do want to create a top or a bottom. It's got a beautiful 3D depth to it. And as I mentioned, put 1 also on the other inside panel. Then what we're going to do is let me do this first. I like to look at 3 sides for equal spacing, and if I've cut everything to be equal, that 4th side should fall into place. Sometimes I look at opposite corners for alignment because it's hard to see that score line right there. I sometimes will look at 3 sides and let that 4th side fall into place. Now I have a disadvantage of the angle I have because of the camera. I did not put those straight. Oh my goodness. But I'm going to keep assembling this project, and we will overlook that and we'll keep going on this. So the next thing I want to have you do, and it's following the instructions on the postcard, is to take the one that has no texture. The front of this card is not going to have a spot for you to sign the card or have an inside sentiment, so we're going to put that on the back. So you're going to turn your card over, and I put it on this flap. You can put it on our panel, you can put it on this panel or this panel. Either will be fine. I'm going to suggest not to put it on either of the center 2 panels, and my reason for that is that's where all our decorative images are going to be, and it would be harder to sign this card before you send it off to someone, unless you do it right away and put it there. So we're going to put it on one of those 2 panels, and we're going to go back to the inside. The next step is we have this brace piece that is cut and scored for you. It has 3 score lines already prepped for you. We're going to do the mountain fold, all 3 mountain folds. This 4th one is not prepped for you, and the reason is in the position it's going to go. If I scored it at one of the increments, it'd be too short. If I went to the next 8th, it's going to be too long. So we're going to create that one on our own. Now this is going to be going across the front here. Recreating this project, I would suggest the card base and the brace be the same color. And we're going to put a strong adhesive on this small panel on this end. I'm going to bring this paper in, grid paper, just to help visually see what I'm doing. I'm thinking the dark color may be hard to see with that wood grain surface. So I like using the tear and tape because you can tear it, but when I get to super small panels like this, I will grab a paper snips and cut it just so I get enough adhesive surface or adhesive on that panel. So I'm going to show you before I take the backing off where this is going to go. We are going to adhere this to the end panel and have the score lines meet up. And what we want to do is we want to have it in the center or slightly down. Now we have no direction to our card. If we had a bottom and a top, you would want to make sure you did put it towards the bottom. Right now I don't have it identified, so I am actually going to go right in the center of this, and we want that equal like so. So what I'm going to do is take this backing off, and then I'm going to give you some additional instructions on how I think it's best to do this. We want it to lay flat to go in our card. It's going to lay flat or into the envelope. It's going to lay flat with these side panels in the back, and that's how it's going to go in the card. We want this brace also not to have any buckling to it. So hold this first panel to the second panel, hold that. Let the fold lines just adhere to or rest on each other. Look for equal spacing on top and bottom. And I would just eyeball this. I don't think you need to get a ruler to do that. And just let that wrap around and adhere to the back. Now what we want to do is take this and go straight across. We're going to turn it upside down. You can use a grid on the grid tablet to help get that aligned straight. And then what we're going to do is lay this across, take a bone folder and create that score line right where we want it to be and wrap this around the back. So that is going to be how we attach this brace piece, by creating our own score line right there. We're going to put tear and tape on here and wrap it around the back. So I'm hoping all of those details did make sense for assembling this, but as I mentioned, pre-scoring this dimension, it's going to be not in the correct location. Now what I want you to do is to put this on, what we want to do is put this on so it goes straight across. I'm going to use this grid. I think I've got it equal going across here, and then I can line it up like that. And you know what I'm going to do, just because I don't always know if I got the right view with the camera, I've got the backing off. I'm going to just look at it like this, go straight across, and then wrap this around, because now, as I mentioned, it's going in the envelope like this. We want it to fold, and now when we open it up, it's going to create this floating bracket across here. I suggested the same color for this because we're going to cover that up, and then it camouflages that this bracket goes underneath the panel. So that was my suggestion of why I feel that color should be the same. So now I'm going to look at equal spacing on, I'll bring this back in. I'm looking for equal spacing on these three sides, but also, goodness, I didn't line that up. So this one's the one that's off. So I really kind of, I hope you guys understand that that's really not what I wanted to do, but you want that all to be straight across. They should be all cut the same dimension there. And then we're going to put this one on the side. So apologies on continuing with a card that I don't have the panels straight. But this is to assist you and give you all the tips so you can put this together. So this is the mechanics in the card base for our floating front panel card. And as I mentioned, fold these back. can sign the back of the card here. So the rest of the what we need to do is the assembly for the embellishment of the card. So so we'll finish that, and then I'll show you. It'll add so much to the card. So what I have in the packet to assemble this, or the embellishment, we have a large basic white circle. I cut that out using the largest circle from the Stylish Shape dies, which is in the annual catalog. And I have a old olive fern piece from the Forever Flourishing dies, and we're going to put that right across here. With these dies, when you don't have a lot of surface, I'm going to use mini glue dots, and I'm only going to use 3 of them, but if you have a different type of adhesive that you prefer to use, you can do that. And I feel that it doesn't need to be secured completely because we are going to put a cute gnome over it, and that with dimensionals, and that will help secure it in place. And I think just a couple dabs of a liquid glue or 3 mini glue dots, and I'm just going to place them in an area with some surface on the leaves behind them. So now what I'm going to do is just place this, and I'm going to keep this branch on, and right now we're just putting this down and we're letting part of it go off to the top. Okay, so we've got that. We're going to set that aside. Now we're going to concentrate on this cute gnome, and I'm going to share all the pieces that I've prepped here for this gnome and show you a little bit about the gnome dies. They are in the mini catalog. They are on page 43, also in the back of the catalog, and they coordinate with the stamp set, so you can get the stamp set and the dies together with a 10% savings, or buy just the dies or just the stamp set. The stamp set has 4 sentiments. It has 5 images. The 5 images can be cut out with the dies, plus you have dies that will create a cute gnome. Lots of versatility to this. There's even this die cuts out the hat, but there's a little die that you can pop right into that opening at the same time when you cut it out, and it will create a hole for a gift tag or ornament for the gnome. So we're using these pieces, and also the designer series paper that coordinates. There's a die that will cut out the gnomes that have the braids, and another die that will cut out these 3 plus cut out the mushroom. So much you can do with this fun set. So what I have in your packet is I have the beard cut out with the die. I use the snowy white 12 by 12 paper in the mini catalog, and it's got a little bit of like a velvet texture to it. It's a snowy white velvet paper, so I've cut that out. And maybe you can see, I'll bring the die up, there's an indication where you'd put the nose and an indication where you'd put the hat. So here's the nose. You get 2 dies that will create the nose. I did that out of gold foil. You are going to have to make a decision if you want the nose put on first and then the hat to cover it up, or do you want to put the hat on first and have the nose overlaying that. That's what I'm going to do, but you need to decide what you want to do. That's going to be the next step. So let's start by, if you want to put the nose on, you're going to want to put that on with a mini glue dot or a different adhesive. I'm going to put the hat on. Hopefully this is all in camera and you can see this without me zooming it up. But let me show you the paper I used. I used the, I actually don't have it in my area to grab here. I forgot to grab it to bring it. It is the 6x6 Regal Packet, which has all 10 colors, and it has the paper in the plaid. It's got a polka dot, and it has flowers and stripes. So out of that 6x6 piece of designer series paper, I can get 18 hats out of it. So you'd put one this way and you do one this way and just rotate those, have 6 rows, 6 per row, 3 per sheet. So you can get a packet of that designer series paper and have 10 different colors to do any project in 10 different colors. So that's the beauty of Stampin' Up's coordinating product. So back to assembly. We're going to put adhesive on the back of this hat and place it right on those lines that show that are in that die. I'm going to put my nose on last with a dimensional. You had that option to put the nose in first. Now what I put that on, and I gave you another hat because what I like to do, because we only have a little bit of surface here adhering it to the beard, I'm going to put the adhesive on the top part of this hat. Has to be the top because the top is meeting to this back, so they need to be aligned. That's going to sandwich the beard between the two hat cutouts, and it will help secure that in place. It's also, because this is designer series paper, and it's going to be a little bit, it's thinner than cardstock, and this is just going to help sandwich that all in there and be secure. So that is the hat. Now the legs or the feet, you're going to have to decide on an option. I'm going to bring this grid paper back in to help show you and bring it closer to the camera. You have the option of, if you put the beard towards the bottom of the feet, so you have only a little bit of the feet showing, or if you want to move it up and have more legs showing, you need to decide where you place that. I like to put it closer to the, with less leg showing. So what I'm going to do is just put a little bit of adhesive on the back of this beard. I'm going to set it on my craft pad, and then I'm going to lay it over the feet to pick up the feet. That's how I like it to be. Now I have some exposed adhesive back here, but that's okay, because what I'm going to do is take a dimensional and overlay across the feet and the beard just to be more secure to adhere those. I'm going to do the same, adhering it, crossing over the hat and the beard, and then I'm going to put one up here, and I'm going to put one more right down here. I don't have any open space, meaning I don't see the front. I've got solid cardstock there. I'm going to put that on for dimensionals, and when I take the backing off, I'm going to place them right over this. Now you have to decide, you know, where you want this rotated. I'm going to place it down like this, where I cover up, the foot covers up that little stem. I have some greenery coming off both sides. So that's how I'm going to assemble this gnome onto that circle with that greenery shown in the background. I'm going to take the backings off with my take your pick tool, and then again I'm just going to adhere it right like that. There is no wrong way to put this all together, and like I said, you have options for assembling the gnome. I like to put the nose on with dimensionals. One dimensional will fit, but it's really tight, so I cut these little strips off the side of my dimensional sheet because they are they're there to use because they have the same strong adhesive that the rest of the dimensionals have. And then I'm going to put this little nose on, and that's how I'm going to finish that. So this gets attached right to here. So what I'm going to do, I don't know if you can see the score lines here. I'm going to hold this closer to the camera. I'm going to put a dimensional right in the middle. I'm going to put one on each side of that one. Your adhesive has to stay between those score lines, just on that center panel. And I'm going to put the adhesive on here instead of putting on back of here. If it's on the back of here, I'm blind to where I'm placing it. But if I put it on here, I can center my gnome right in, looking at the point. I'm putting the point in the center of those panels. And I'm going to place this. I'm going to place it a little bit lower than higher. And the reason is, and I shared this, the bracket, a little bit lower than higher. And it looked like I maybe should have turned this around, because if you put so much on the top, it's going to get top heavy. When you open up your card, it may tip over because it's top heavy. So it's going to sit like this. You got a top view, and your front view, your card's going to look like this. You're going to fold this back to put it in the envelope, so when someone opens it up, it's going to look like this, and those brackets should form out to have your front floating panel card. So I hope you love it. I think there's so many possibilities with this. I have no outside sentiments, but you could easily put sentiments on the sides, and it's a card for many different occasions. So let's put this little card together to have our little visual. Everything is prepped for you. We have our basic black cardstock. You want to do the mountain, valley, and mountain. Again, I'm going to keep continuing. Hit the pause button at any time that you need to if I'm going too fast. So you also have some designer series paper in here, and this is gold striped paper. It is part of a celebration offering in July and August of 2022. Stampin' Up! Has product in this brochure that you receive free with $50 orders and or $100 orders. And this designer series paper, you get 8 of each of these sheets. You get gold stripes, silver stripes, gold polka dots, or gold polka dots and silver polka dots, 8 of each, or 6 of each, because you get 24 in a package. So I cut out the panels with that. So let's assemble the designer series paper on the center 2 panels. So we're going to repeat our steps just like we did for the first card. And I'm going to make an attempt to get mine lined up better than I did the first time. So we're going to put 1 panel here, and it's a good attempt. I think I've already failed that attempt, but this video is to share assembly tips along with learning lessons, right? Get a good view of getting this equal here and equal here. And there we have those 2 panels. You have the brace is already cut and scored for you. You have 3 score lines. You're going to fold all of them to be a mountain fold. And then we're going to put adhesive on the back of the smallest tab, and that's going to get adhered. Again, we don't have a top or bottom, so we don't need to worry about rotation of this. And we're going to put 2 strips of tear and tape on here. So this is a repeat to assemble this miniature version. I always like to have that miniature card on the postcard because that's a good visual, reminding you what the card looks like. And as I mentioned, my goal is for you to be able to duplicate these projects and use other product and create the fun fold. So we're going to take the backing off of this. We're going to repeat this. So hold this panel to the second panel. You're going to let the folds rest on top of each other, and we're going to wrap this around, getting equal spacing on top and bottom. We're going to wrap that all the way across. I'm going to bring in that grid pad again to hopefully show a better view. So I have this down. Now we got this going all the way across. This is the back side. I'm going to take the bone folder, score that, and we're going to wrap that around. We're going to put adhesive right here. I love using the tear and tape as it's a strong adhesive. Anytime we change the shape of our cardstock, it's going to want to go back into its original shape. So you need a strong adhesive to hold it in place. That's whether you're doing fun fold cards or boxes or different type projects. And this tear and tape is a great adhesive to use for those type of projects. So now what I want to do is, this is always a guessing game whether it's easier to line it up on the grid paper or do a visual from the front side. But we want that to go across the front like that. So when we open up our card, and I don't know if I pre-folded that. There you go. Now we have a miniature version started for our little postcard. So you have 2 additional pieces of the designer series paper. You want to put some adhesive on the back of those, and we're going to adhere 1 to each of the 2 end panels. Look for equal spacing. With this striped paper, the stripes are not straight, so you're going to have stripes that kind of curve around, and that's just how the paper is. This is a really nice pack of paper, and as I mentioned, 24 sheets of 4 different two different designs, two different colors, gold and silver, so 4 each. So that's what we have here. You have another piece of white, or a piece of white cut the same size. This is to represent where you would put your inside sentiment. So you want to put that on the back of the card on one of the 2 end panels. And then for the decorative part of this, it's going to be super simple. This is the these 2 punches come together. You get the scalped and the layered for the inside. I used gold foil sheets, and then I also ran that through the stripes and splatters folders. So these 2 come together. They're smaller, so they will run through the mini cut and emboss machine, but you can use them with your standard one too. And one has splatters, one has stripes, so I just added a little splatter to that gold foil. I think running a gold foil through an embossing folder just adds so much to it. And it's a great way to use your foils that have got scratches and so forth on, because it kind of camouflages all of those. So we're going to adhere those 2 together. We're going to take a dimensional, and it might be harder to see where those 2 score lines are. When I say 2, this one and this one, put your dimensionals right between the 2 and take off the backing. Look at placing this down on here, and you could use this heart for a full-size card too. A great anniversary card or wedding card, and you would have space for sentiments on top. So this is our little miniature card. I only know 2 options to put it on here. You can fold this and use a paper clip just to clip it, or you can take on the back side, take adhesive. I'm going to use dimensionals and just put oops, I'm pulling off the backing of the dimensional, but not actually grabbing the dimensional. So let's get a better hold of those. I'm going to put 4 dimensionals, and what I'm doing is I'm overlapping a little bit of the designer series paper to cardstock just to get a good hold. And if I just put it on the designer series paper, it might pull off. I don't think it would, but extra security. I'm going to hold this down like this, place it here. Now it's attached, but it still lets me visually see what this fun fold is, and that's where we sign the card. And that is your little visual. As I mentioned, you received a PDF with all the details. The PDF has a direct link to this video. Excuse me, so you can put this together. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me. If you are new to my fun fold plan, check out the comment section of this video or go to my blog. I hope you enjoyed this project. Thank you for the order. Take care and happy creating.